Visit getvaccineanswers.org so you can make an informed decision about COVID-19 vaccine.
The Sweet and Smoky Salmon Rub infuses smoked black pepper with dehydrated maple syrup, pink Himalayan salt, ginger, thyme, mustard, and more to make a sweet, savory rub, perfect for salmon, trout, and other delicate seafood.
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
HBCU League Pass. Watch your favorite black colleges, some of the best players in the land. HBCU League Pass. It's game time, I'm proud and I love my HBCU. HBCU League Pass. Watch your favorite black colleges, some of the best players in the land. HBCU League Pass. It's game time, I'm proud and I love my HBCU.
Some carriers will give you just one measly entertainment subscription. One is no fun. With Verizon, there's up to 7 entertainment subscriptions with your unlimited plan. That's 7 times the... 7 times the... No. 7 times the... Music, gaming, Disney Plus, Hulu, ESPN Plus, and more. That's 7 times the entertainment! Because everyone deserves better. And with plans starting at just $35, better costs less than you think.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids' apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
I'm returning to Clinton Parish, and Tampa's my community. I grew up here, went to school here, and my wife and I make our home here. What makes Tampa special are its people. So when I represent someone injured in my community, it's personal. Call my office and speak to a real lawyer and not some referral service. I will fight the insurance companies to get the settlement that you deserve. At the law office of Clinton Parish, we take the pain out of being hurt.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
So we've got a good thing going
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell your mama hungry.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to a live edition of the ONG Strike Zone. I'm Brian Fulford, joined by my Rattler brothers from another mother, Kelvin Rozier and Kofi Hemingway. Happy Founders Week to you, brothers. Obviously, it's not Monday when Founders Day was, but it's Founders Week as Rattlers far and wide celebrated the 135th birthday of Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. So, Kelvin, Kofi, happy Founders Day to you, brothers.
Happy Founders Week,
my brother.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So what's been happening, guys? What's good? How's everybody feeling? Kofi, it's good to have you, man. We missed you last week. Obviously the show changed on. Kelvin maybe didn't. I missed you, Kofi. Somebody missed you over here. There's a few people in the chat room.
Some folks are trying to be shady.
Hey, I've known them all my life. I can miss them a day or two.
Right.
I got you. Well, everything's good. Kelvin, how you been doing over the past few days since we last saw each other?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I'm catching up on some things, getting, checking check boxes and everything, making it happen, brother. So now I'm focused in. We at that part of the time where, we've got multiple sports going on across our different platforms and season. So man, it's fall season now. The weather done started cooperating. Man, I'm good, man. It's beautiful.
Yes, indeed. A lot of stuff going on. I found myself in the midst of being up real late at night or early in the morning, just trying to. Hopefully, you guys out there have seen the clips that we put together from Coach McCullum and Coach Pillow from their virtual media days last week. Hopefully, you had a chance to watch them either on Facebook or on the YouTube page. But if not, love for you to go check that out. And hopefully Marcus put some good info out there on Friday's show regarding the roster for our women's team. So if you didn't get a chance to catch Friday's show, there's some good nuggets there that Marcus put out there for us. So go take a look at that when you can. A quick reminder for everyone watching, if you're on YouTube or Facebook, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure to like the feed, the stream. Hopefully you're following us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ONG Strike Zone. And then we'd love for you to go download the Jericho Broadcast Network's app on the Google and Apple Store. The Google Play and Apple Store. Apple App Store. I say that all the time. I can't ever be consistent with it. Just search my JBN, my BCSN. Our shows are part of the Black College Sports Network, and all of our shows in podcast form on the BCSN Pod Zone, everywhere you download and listen to podcasts. We got a busy show tonight. We got not only the triumvirate of hosts, but we got a triumvirate of guests coming up at the bottom of hour number one. The FAMU Director of Communications and Digital Strategist, the man who's behind all the great social media stuff that you guys are seeing out there, Joshua Padilla is going to be joining us at the bottom of the hour. Tell us a little bit about what he does, how he does it. And, I mean, he just grinds, man. He puts out some great stuff. And, I mean, it really, we are one of the premier HBCUs, one of the premier colleges in Division I when it comes to that social media stuff. So we'll get a chance to talk to Josh about that. Top of hour 2, Brad Gillens will be joining us. We're going to break down the South Carolina State matchup. Of course, the Rattlers on the road for the first time in about a month. Really since Really since the Orange Blossom Classic, I guess. Yeah, we haven't been on the. Yeah, that's been that long since we've been on the road. So we're traveling to South Carolina, a nasty environment, but we're going to get a chance to ruin their first home game of the season. And then at the bottom of hour 2, we're going to talk to our good friend, an OG, as we like to call him here, friends of the ONG, Coach Mike Rice. I guess I don't know, I'm going to say returning FAMU men's golf coach. All right, let's first get into the recaps from the past week. All wins for football and volleyball. We're going to start with the football game against Mississippi Valley State, of course. Rattlers win that one 34-7. Our 13th consecutive win at Bragg Memorial Stadium. It's one of those ball games where, defensively showed up. Defense really only gave up one play, one breakdown. The offense, it took about a half to really get clicking, but I don't think it was ever a game that here's the thing, guys. We look at the score, and it's a good win. FAMU covered the 14 and a half, probably is maybe even 20. FAMU covered, but it didn't look like an explosive game that many of us thought. And I'm not gonna give that over to Valley. I'm not gonna say that's because Valley's trying, but it just wasn't the type of explosive game that many people thought we were going to have. So I'll start with you, Kofi, because I see you're shaking your head. I'm going to come to you first. Be patient with me, baby. What are your takeaways and any concerns you have after the game against Valley?
I really feel, actually I feel pretty good about this team. Let me first say that Valley did have something to do with how we perform. I think the reality that we need to understand is that we're not necessarily an explosive team. We're not. And we haven't been an explosive team for the last 2 years. The only explosive person or player that we really had last year was really Bishop Bonnet. So when you look at the injuries that we've had, in particular on offense, Xavier, as good as he is, he's not a speedster. He's not an explosive type of player. He's a guy that's going to get you on your route running. He's a timing guy. Shareed, also the same thing. He's got a little bit more speed than Zay, but we're not overly fast and overwhelming out wide. Which means that it literally comes down to our execution. We had several third downs that were there for the taking. Xavier dropped the ball. Manigo dropped the ball. I think one of the tight ends dropped the ball on third down. That's literally, you look at those 3 series, that's 21 points that we left on the board. And then, of course, just really with the play calling, when you have one back in the backfield who's not explosive, it's kind of predictable to be like, okay, well, who's going to get the ball? Well, it looks like it's only one person back there. They know we're not going to do a quarterback draw. So guess what? They give him the ball, he gets stopped. Valley's defense is good enough that they can, they've got playmakers on their squad where, they got transfers too. So although I knew that we were better I think explosive, people want to see us get to that, but there are a lot of determining factors. I'll make this point and I'm going to pass it off. This team has had to overcome more than any other FAMU squad in recent history. And that in itself has to be taken into account in terms of how the team is performing, beginning with all of the compliance issues, okay? Then having to publicly address, confront, and deal with that, and give energy to the administration and let them know what's working, what's not working, what's not fair. Once these people are gone, you have to know that that conversation is still going on in the locker room. Dr. Robinson came down here and blah, 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 blah. When you should have been focusing on or could have been focusing on the game, you can't because of all of this stuff. We got tickets. We got nutritional issues. We've got scholarship issues. We've got compliance issues. Okay, so President Robinson addresses all of that. Then comes the fact that you lose your opening game. You lose one of your offensive linemen to injury. You come back the following week and literally get blown out on national TV and the worst loss to an HBCU in FAMU's history. On national TV, we made Jackson State look extremely good, but at the same time, look at the preparation the week before. Wondering if Isaiah's going to be a part, whether or not he's not going to be a part. Then, in addition to that, our schemes are outdated, and people got hard-headed and didn't want to change. That's another issue. That's another conversation altogether. All right. So then you have Albany State. They come in. Then you have Alabama and you play pretty good against them. Play a nice little game. Do well. XYZ. Then you play the next week, and guess what? It's an entire hurricane heading towards the state. So now, is it coming towards us or is it going off? We don't know. Well, guess what? We might have to play in Birmingham. We might have to play in Atlanta. We might have to play in Mobile. If you don't think that that's going to affect your preparation, something is off. It definitely does. Okay? Then in addition to that, you got players who are down south, who have families down south, who are concerned about their family members down south. Is mama okay? Is daddy okay? Is the house still up? Is this still going on? All of this stuff is contributing to how the team is performing. Not to mention, we still have the compliance issues of wondering whether or not certain people are going to be free this week to play. This team has had to deal with so much. In addition to the circulation rumors. Hey, they said, Willie, this is his last, and then, I wonder if, when we going to get an AD? All of this stuff is a major issue, and it has to be a part of the discussion in terms of how the team is performing. And it definitely, I believe that it definitely had a factor in our overall performance, in our timing, and with our technique. But the good thing is we're still winning these games. And while the standard is the standard, I'm looking for this team to show forth in these next 2 weeks. We're going to see.
Man, beautiful points, Kofi. Thank you for reminding us about some of those things. Kelvin, what do you want to add in terms of biggest takeaways, biggest concerns from the game?
Kofi hit on a lot of points that I was going to go after. When you look at, when I watched the game and everything, you felt like, that we underachieved somewhat, even though we won a game convincingly. But then when you put things in perspective, then you realize that, we're probably a little more too critical of this team right now. And here's why I say that, right? I'm looking at the statistics, first of all. Dallas had 192 yards total offense for the game.
Right.
We had 408. And we liberally substituted fourth quarter. We called the dogs off, right?
Right, I saw that. Yep.
We only had 8 penalties, 86 yards. We were 9 of 18 on third downs, which is 50%. which is pretty good. We had time of possession. So when you look at the stats bear out that we dominated this game, and
Right.
and we won by 20 some points, right? So why
27.
why do we feel like that for some reason um we should have did better? You got to remember, Valley scored first against Jackson State the week before.
Mm-hmm.
They played out of conference PWCs and held their own. So they're not a garbage team. They're not a team that you would normally beat 50, 60-0. Not these last couple of years. They're competitive. Now, to what Kofi pointed out, and so I'm kind of in between because I don't these are facts. The compliance issues, the interim AD issues, the hurricane issues, and how that messes up your practice schedules. With classes. Then the point he made about the Orange Blossom Classic, where you had bowling, some of those guys not getting down to Friday. The team left on Wednesday. Um, some other things I jotted down. Injuries. We've had a ton of injuries to major contributors on both sides of the ball, along with all this other stuff. And I think something that we don't talk about enough. Two things: coaching changes. We had what 3, 4 coaches leave like July and August. So they left late going into the season. And then the second thing that I don't think we talk about, our schedule was front loaded. Once we played South Carolina State, we don't play the best teams on our schedule. And we played in the first 5 weeks. So when I look at it from that standpoint, we get more healthier and so forth. This team is resilient. This staff is resilient. And we are what we thought we would be, other than perhaps the Jackson State game at this point. We exceeded expectations in our minds the first game against North Carolina and that loss, and we definitely fell flat against Jackson State second game. But we kind of on schedule in spite of all those things we just listed. We on schedule still. So now the only part to this moving forward is can we win on the road?
Right.
Against good competition. And that's what these next 2 weeks will prove. Not only is it South Carolina State first home game, but when we play Grambling next week, it's their first home game. So we
Right.
definitely going to get their best shot. We're tested, we battle tested, we done had adversity, and we're getting healthier. So I'm very optimistic and hopeful that we'll just continue to get better, but we got to see it. But it was a good
Well
win. It
said.
was a solid win. Under those
Yep.
circumstances, it's a solid win.
Yeah, resilient rattlers. I love it. I love it. That's a great way to categorize it. I guess for me, just in terms of jotting notes down, it just the fact that we're playing Valley, and then I think the energy from what was shocking is a little bit the energy from the crowd. Now, obviously, I was not there, but the crowd. Now, remember we had the controversy with we can call it the attendance numbers, right, from the previous home game versus this home game, and I saw a few tweets from some people. I got some messages from people where obviously the listed attendance at the A&M game was like 7,000, but we all know there was like 18, 19 in the building. And then someone sent me a text when they saw the crowd and said, "Okay, yeah, this game looks more like 7, 8,000, the Valley game, than the last week." So I don't, if I just look here on the stats, what the official attendance numbers were. Let me see if I can pull them up here quickly on the box score sheet. 10,699. So the 100 didn't perform. That was kind. They weren't even dressed. They were kind of in their casual sweatsuit travel gear. That was kind of weird, and that was on the heels of just total side note here. I saw somebody tweet out somebody from North Carolina A&T that their band actually didn't even come to the game. They just like they were playing like Bryant or somebody out of their conference, and I didn't even know bands didn't show up for home games. But anyway, so I guess it was just an energy thing that all contributed to a very uh, just from a parent standpoint, a very different environment than what we're used to seeing in Bragg. But as you guys all pointed out, great points by all of you. Any game balls? Anybody? If you got a game ball, offense or defense, special teams, Kofi, who's getting your game ball from this past
Zay,
game against Valley? Zay?
Xavier Smith. I mean, he put on a clinic when it came to his route running. He is playing at a different level. He looks like a senior. He's playing like a senior. He's playing with confidence, boldness. He's running crisp routes. The last touchdown catch that he caught was just a thing of beauty as he made that Valley defender just look as bad as a defender could possibly be, and he was wide open, and it was simply due to the way that he ran that route. He was wide open, and he's been doing that to creating space with his route running all year long. The thing that he's going to have to obviously overcome, which is not what we're talking about, but strength in getting off the line against more physical DBs. So once he masters that, I think he can play at the next level, but we'll see.
Xavier, 13 catches, 128 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's 5 touchdowns in the past 2 weeks. Just reading from some of the notes that Josh Padilla put together for the game notes. Xavier is ranked second in the nation, first in the SWAC in receptions per game at 8.6. Third in the nation in receiving touchdowns, first in the SWAC with 6 now on the year, and 13th in the nation in receiving yards, first in the SWAC with 449. He's also 20th in the nation in all-purpose yards per game, second in the SWAC with 124 yards per game. So I think I think there's a comfortability now between Musa and Smith. And obviously, that's opening it up for a lot of other guys. It helps having Shareed, and you're seeing Oxendine, and you're seeing Manigo, and other guys get catches, and he's still finding Zay. And just the routes are different. The routes they run for Zay, and I think it's all coming together right now. Kelvin, who do you get game balls to, offense, defense, or special teams?
I'm giving it to Zay too, but the other Zay on the defensive side, Isaiah
Okay.
Land.
All right.
We've been kind of tough on our defense, and they hadn't been living up to the standard. But I talked about what the stats were collectively as a defense, and he's the leader. But he had a credible stat line of production against a team that didn't. They weren't on the field a whole bunch, and he still was able to get 2 tackles for loss, a sack, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, a quarterback hurry, and 3 tackles. He had all the buckets. So absolutely, our Zays are the players of the game, no doubt.
No doubt, no doubt. Isaiah Land was also named the East-West Shrine Bowl HBCU Defensive Player of the Week based on his performance against Valley. Of course, those stats you just ran out there, so props to him. Also want to give mention to Jeremy Musa, second consecutive week throwing multiple touchdowns. He threw 45 pass attempts with, I think it was 26 completions. He started off really well. I thought his first maybe 15 pass plays, or he was like 9 of 12 or something like that, really high in the opening in his first 12 possessions or first 12 throws. He looked really sharp. He led us down the field. We scored on our opening drive. First time all year that FAMU scored in their opening offensive possessions. That was one of the goals of that game. So props to him for that. He was named the SWAC newcomer of the week for his performance in that game. So I think last week, Major was the defensive player of the week, and this week Musa, newcomer. So we're starting to get those awards and recognitions. All right. Hey, just off chance, I know 13 is our current win streak. What's the max number? Where's the record stand for? Can any of you, either of you, know offhand? I mean, I can pull
I
up the
don't know.
record book later. No. Interesting. Anybody in
I
the
don't know.
chat rooms, and anybody who knows what the current
If we don't know,
number
I
is?
know they don't know. I'm guaranteed. If you got, that's an Alvin Hollins question.
Yes.
I'm telling you
I
that
bet
right now.
I
That's an
bet somebody
Alvin
knows.
Hollins
You
question.
watch somebody by the end of the show. Be looking out for that in the chat rooms. All right,
Because here's the thing. Here's the thing,
yeah.
right? Even in the Rudy Hubbard days, we lost games at home. You
Sure,
know, 75, we lost homecoming to Tuskegee. 76, we lost to Tennessee State at home. 77, we were undefeated. But then 78, we lost to Tennessee State at home. 79, lost to Tuskegee. 80, lost to A&T Grambling. Who else we lost? We lost to one more team at home. We were playing at Campbell. 81, I think we lost to Jackson State at home. So what you're seeing now, even the Billy Joe era, that was the last time we had an extensive streak at home, but we've since exceeded that because at that time we were playing a bunch of classics, and both the Atlanta Classic and the Orange Blossom Classic away from Tallahassee, and I think we played a couple of games in Jacksonville. So the streak that you're seeing now is a significant one.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into talking about
the
that.
longest streak had to have been in the Jake Gaither days.
Going Jake Gaither days. All right. Well, I'm question of the day right now. What's our longest current home win streak? What's the record? Obviously 13 is a pretty good number. It's actually second in the nation, I think, behind like North Dakota State, Montana, and somebody else in the FCS level. So it's a pretty good run. That's a few seasons, and so. What's crazy is I remember the last loss. That's how you know a streak, how long it is, when you remember the last loss. All right, so we're not quite there where it's been a super long time, but we still remember the last loss. All right, before we go to the break, got to get in a mention about our volleyball team. The Lady Rattlers went up to Alabama on Sunday and Monday and took on Alabama State, Alabama A&M. They found themselves down 0-2 after the first two sets against the Hornets, but we did what we do, and we rallied. We showed up big time in that match. Managed to push it to a fifth set and ended up winning that fifth set by a count of 15-11. God bless any of you who tried to watch it on YouTube. I know I tried, but it was just kind of, I don't know what kind of feeds. They had some issues with the feeds, but needless to say, giving some credit here to Brooklyn Watts, who finished the afternoon with a season high 21 kills to go alongside 13 kills from Dominique Washington. No, excuse me, 21 kills to go alongside 11 kills, while Dominique Washington respectively added 16 and 12. That was in the those last two sets for the ladies. Iram Ukar had a season high and game high 48 assists. Then we came back, traveled, I think, let's see, they were in Montgomery, so that means then they had to go what, north? They had to go north to Huntsville to take on Alabama A&M. We did what we do. We swept them 3-0. And so now the Lady Rattlers have a 15-game SWAC streak going right now. That's including postseason play, I believe. So I think they're including postseason conference tournament play as well. 15 in a row. We're off to a great start in conference, 3-0 record, 6-11 overall. We got some honors. We actually swept the SWAC volleyball honors again. Brooklyn Watts was named the Offensive Player of the Week for the first time this season, and she was also the Newcomer of the Week for the second straight week. Brooke Hudson earned her fourth Defensive Player of the Week award, and 2021 Setter of the Year, Iram Ukar, earned her third Setter of the Week award. So Fellas, I got a feeling we're gonna be in the hunt in those postseason awards once again. So we'll talk about the ladies and their upcoming schedule here shortly. But let's take a break and come back with our interview and our conversation with Joshua Padilla right after this. You're watching the ONG Strike Zone. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
This is Carlos Brown, letting you know that we're on the move. You can now catch the Carlos Brown Show beginning this July on the Black College Sports Network each and every Saturday from 11 to 1 Eastern Time. That's 10 to 12 Central Time. Same time, new place. On Facebook at the Carlos Brown Show and Black College Sports Network. Online at www.mybcsn.net and on the BCSN app available on Google Play and the Apple App Store.
Five-star backyards, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have this yellow tag, you don't want it.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant-quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loop machine. Going around town, trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
You see, Head & Shoulders has Scalp Shield technology, protects against flakes, even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. Number 15?
Never not working!
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield, never not working.
We are making the virtual HBCU experience available wherever you live through Stillman Online. We offer online degrees in business, criminal justice, psychology, and religion. Stillman also offers technology badges in cybersecurity and data analytics. You can participate in all student activities, fraternities and sororities, internships, graduation ceremonies, and much more. Apply for admission today at stillman.edu. Stillman College, where we prepare you for a different world.
Welcome back to the ONG Strike Zone. Brian, Kelvin, Kofi here. I want to give a shout out to our friends watching us on YouTube and Facebook. Of course, Dr. Lori Wilson in there managing the chat room on YouTube. I know I saw Chuck Hunt over there on Facebook watching us. Kenneth Rozier, B Starks, Dim Boys, Mary 305, Tamara T, all jumping in. Kylan Chavis, Double OC in the house. Edwin Moore, Marcus, got you in there. I see you, Marcus. Montre Bennett, also Avis Heath jumped in there. Hashtag Go Rattlers from Avis Heath. What? Kofi, you must be warming up to Avis. You must be helping him out there, huh? There's a lot of love there. That's a lot of love. All right, we'll see how long that
Nobody
lasts.
helping out Avis.
Or either
Nobody
he
helping
trying not.
Avis out.
Hey, or either he trying not to get
Avis trying
sniped
not to
by
get
Dr.
kicked
Lori
out
this
again.
week. One of the two. You're right.
Yeah,
That's
Dr.
what it is.
Lori.
Try not to get sniped. Hey, all right. That's all love. Shout out to everybody. So, hey, while we wait on our guests, I guess that'll give us a time we can get into talking about happenings around the SWAC because it is an interesting perspective. Obviously, happening right now, the Board of Trustees, Florida A&M University Board of Trustees, is having their meetings this month. Actually, they were supposed to have a meeting with athletics this afternoon, but that got postponed as all of the other departments we're doing all their stuff and getting all their reports in. So athletics will be first thing in the morning for those of you who want to jump on the Zoom feed at 8:30 in the morning and hear what the latest is. As far as we know nothing. We have heard nothing. People have been tight-lipped, quiet. Nobody is talking. I don't know if that's by plan or if that's because we just don't have a decision yet. Okay, so I'll keep moving. So I look like you were going to jump in there. But anyway, what is of interest,
I was about to.
I know you were, while we still waiting to see what happens with our AD search, another SWAC school made a decision to terminate the contract of their athletic director. This comes Tuesday I'm reading from SI.com here, HBCU Legends. Kyle Mosley, Prairie View fires athletic director Dr. Reed. Prairie View president Dr. Ruth Simmons terminated the contract per sports reporter Mark Berman. Now, Dr. Reed told Berman that he, quote, will not be continuing in this position effective immediately. A national search to identify an outstanding candidate will begin at once. In the interim, John Gardner, chair of the athletics committee, will step in as director until a new leader is named. Continuing, Dr. Simmons gave a statement and insight into what may have precipitated
a statement
Reed's
and insight.
A statement, insight.
The president
okay.
of the university.
She says, from the university president of Prairie View A&M, she says, quote, for months, I had been hearing about the fact that things were not functioning well in the department, and it was causing severe problems for our athletes, Dr. Simmons stated, culminating 2 weeks ago when the football team went to Alabama State. They arrived at the airport, and there was no plane to take them to the game. They waited 5 hours for a plane to come and transport them. Nevertheless, they won the game, and I kept asking, how did this happen? Because they had a horrible experience. We had no choice but to set this on the right course and do this as quickly as possible. I take full responsibility as president. I have to make those decisions. Hold on. I have to take full responsibility as president. I have to make those decisions when it's necessary. A new search will begin for Reed's successor. Wow.
Can we get? Never mind.
That is called leadership from the top, the tippy top.
She did that. She did that. That's the way you cut down confusion and have alumni sending you a bunch of emails, wondering what's going on. The only way you get clarity in the midst of confusion is to have a conversation. Make a statement. Tell us why. Otherwise, you open the door to unnecessary speculation. Unnecessary speculation. People like, well, wait a minute now. Because she brought clarity. She didn't go into a whole bunch of stuff. She acknowledged the fact that the alumni and a bunch of the athletes were concerned. They had been talking about the number of things that have been going on in the department. And to top it all off, she named a situation. And it was clear as to why this move had to be made. Unlike Dr. Robinson, who sat right there with all of the goodwill that Courtney Gaucher had done and all of the great things that he had done, to fire him out of the blue, to most of Rattler Nation, that just looked crazy. Then you didn't even take the time to make a statement because apparently the stuff that you had to have been shady. It had to have been shady. It could not have been forthcoming. If it's forthcoming, say what happened so that we can move on, so that we can have an understanding, so that we can move forward. That's what leaders do. This is why we did it. We're at a point right now where we had to go in a different direction. That's where we at.
Kelvin, your thoughts when you hear the president of a university with such strong and definitive words?
Come on, man. Dr. Robinson getting paid almost $700,000. Give me a break. Make a statement.
Hey, I'm impressed not by the statement itself. That is a solid, strong statement. But I'm impressed because the statement matches the action, right?
Yes.
I've been hearing stuff. I've been checking this stuff out. My student athletes couldn't travel. Where we heard that at? Sound familiar?
Stakeholders concerned about their primary stakeholders.
Yeah, I got to make it right. I can't have my athletes and coaches out there like that. I got to make it right. I'm the president. I take full responsibility.
And
this is what I'm going to do.
They
This
won.
is what I'm going to do.
She pointed out the fact they still won. With all of the adversity, they won, and they deserve better than the experience that they had. Damn.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So as an ex-military guy, this is what leadership looked like to me. Number one, and I know we're going to talk about our AD search process. I'll tell you the one thing I took away outside of that statement, though, with this particular AD, and looking at his background, this was his first time in HBCU land, so to speak. He had been at Buffalo about 13 years, and then he was at Iowa State prior to that for about 7 years. So he had about 20 years of experience when he came to A&M in 2021, somewhere around the COVID time. And he made it about a year, basically. And this happened. So I find that interesting in this sense. And to me, it fits kind of what happened in our situation. Sometimes people are qualified and they know how to do certain things, but they're a better fit in a situation where there's structure and resources. Not everybody can work without resources and structure. And I think we saw it play out with our previous administration, and I think we see that it happened at our sister institution also. And so I just wanted to make note of that because I did pick that up.
Here's my thing, right? At our HBCUs, we talk about our culture and our lack of resources. Kudos to the FAMU students that, of course, are taking the next step and suing the state. That's a whole different story, so we can have more resources. That being said, how long are we going to sit back and allow our lack of resources to be an excuse? At what point do we put the necessary infrastructure in place so that we can be consistently successful? Sooner or later, somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. This is how you get a school like Campbell, who comes in after only playing football for 10 years.
Yeah.
10 years. 3,000 students, and they are able to knock off a team in North Carolina Central who had already beaten North Carolina A&T. And they very well could defeat Jackson State. And they had the #2 recruiting class in the entire country. The darn Camels from Campbell.
Fighting Campbell. Fighting Camels. Fighting Camels.
And FAMU has been around for decades, for 135 years. We've been playing football for decades, and we can't seem to put in the necessary infrastructure because people won't get out the way. Or you lack the authority and the balls to tell them to get out of the way so that we can do what we need to do. Sooner or later, you got to put the infrastructure in place so the house can stand. You have to lay a foundation. You have to build an infrastructure and build it up to code so that when the winds come, when the storms do come, your house does not fall to the ground. Sooner or later, we got to do it.
So yeah, we'll take a look and see. You can start. What are the odds? If any of you are odds makers out there or part-time odds makers, what are the odds that Prairie View A&M has an athletic director before Florida A&M? We've already seen one school
I
do it.
don't know, but look, there have been rumors about this guy getting out of there for months.
Yes.
And talking with Prairie View alums, they've been ready for him to go. The
He'd only
team
been
not
there
flying
since
out was
2020.
the straw that broke the camel's back, huh?
Yeah, I said he'd only been there since 2020, so
Yeah, but
very
they've been
short
trying,
tenure.
just literally he was standoffish. He wasn't a good fit to the culture. He didn't get along with the university officials, all of that stuff. It really does matter,
Yeah.
Now, I guess that may be why they have not pulled the trigger on our search yet in terms of whether Angelos would be a fit or not. For me, everything that I've seen makes it seem like he would be a fit, with the know-how if you're willing to make it work. And I think that our administration and the people that are in seats of authority at FAMU need to take on the mindset that, you know what, we've been dysfunctional for far too long. Let's see what we need to do to make this work. I don't want to hear a bunch of excuses about why it ain't working. It obviously ain't working. Stop defending it. This is a system that does not work or lead to our overall success. We need to stop it. We need to cut it and change it so that we can put in a system that does work. That day has to end, and it ends when leadership says, you know what, let's give this guy our full support. Let's get behind this guy. Let's do what we need to do, or whoever they choose to put in there. Let's get behind them, and let's find a way to make the right things happen on the highest of Seven Hills.
All right. So that's off the field and court for the SWAC. Let's go to stuff that happened on the field from this past Saturday as we go through the SWAC roundup all around us. Of course, we'll start with the games featuring the Eastern Conference, or not Eastern Conference, but Eastern Division. Alabama A&M and Bethune-Cookman played a game back and forth, lots of points, lots of production. I believe it was A&M's homecoming, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
They ended up winning the ball game 35-27. We got a taste of A&M the week before. So it was kind of interesting watching them jump out to an early 14-0 lead, and then they kind of do what they've done all year, which is give that lead up. So it was like tied up at 14 at the half. Then they actually traded scores in the third quarter until A&M kind of took a lead with 33 seconds remaining in the third quarter. But their big back, obviously they've got two, almost like a thunder and lightning combination with their backs. It was their big guy, sophomore Donovan Eaglin, the big guy, number 7. If you remember number 7 from the A&M FAMU game, he's the young man from Houston, Texas. Had 200 plus yards from scrimmage and 3 scores in that contest as they ended up winning that game 35-27. Both teams put up over 450 yards practically. I mean, Bethune had like 448, A&M had 459. I thought, I don't know, did Jalen Jones, was he passing? Was he the quarterback of record right now for Bethune? Yeah, he is. So I mean, he threw for 353 yards. That kid Xavier Langford for A&M had another good day as he threw for 3 touchdown passes. So that was an interesting ball game. You guys got any thoughts on the Bethune A&M game there?
No, not really. I mean,
No.
I picked Cookman. I thought that they were going to pull it out based off what I saw, but I'm not shocked that A&M found a way to get this game. And the thing that's never factored in, I'd be interested to see what the penalties were in the box score, in terms of seeing how that possibly could have affected the game.
Each team had 10 or more. Bethune had 11 for 80 yards, and A&M had 10 for 80 yards. So that's 21 total penalties, for both teams. So it was just one of those. Yeah, it was one of those games. I don't think I heard you say you didn't have anything there. Anything to add on that one, Kelvin?
No, I just thought that Alabama and A&M at home was a touchdown better than Bethune, and that's the way it played out.
Yep. Jumping over to the West, in the Bluff, as they like to call it, in the Bluff. I think that's where they call it down there where Southern plays, right? They put up over 500 yards on Arkansas Pine Bluff, 550 to be exact, as they just opened up a can of whoopstick on Arkansas Pine Bluff in the third quarter, outscoring them 35-0 in the third quarter on their way to a 59-3 win. UAPB now was without their primary starting quarterback, Skylar Perry. The reason I believe may have been due to an injury. He did not know statistics of whatsoever, so he was not in the game. Bashawn McCray accounted for 5 touchdowns, 4 passing, 1 rushing. So I know he took a lot of criticism and a lot of heat the week before. But now, what's interesting, and we'll talk about this later, Southern now 2-2, 2 blowout wins against, you could say, okay, meh opponents. One of them was a NAIA school, and one of them was a team without their starting quarterback, and then they have 2 bad losses. So who knows? Who knows what? I think we're gonna find out the real Southern this upcoming weekend. So there's that.
Definitely the next 2 weekends.
Yeah, definitely. The State Fair Classic. The G's are not going on the helmets anytime soon, as Prairie View won their 5th in a row over Grambling, 34-14. I think they scored like 27. I think it was 27-0 before Grambling scored a couple of touchdowns. I don't know if you guys watched this game or got a chance to watch it. Opening drive for Grambling, they actually scored a touchdown, but it got called back due to a penalty, and I don't think Grambling sniffed the end zone again until late in the fourth quarter, maybe third quarter. But yeah, so
you, dear old Grambling.
Yeah, no G's. I mean, what do you guys make of the motivation tactic
That's stupid.
by Coach Hugh Jackson?
I think that's dumb. That's just dumb.
You try to take the rattle off our orange helmets, off our helmets, man. No, we ain't trying to hear that. Now there was a time where our helmets were all orange and we didn't have a rattle
orange. I was
head
going to
logo.
say yes. There was
back
a
in
time
the
when
day.
we had all.
But that was back in the day. You try to take that rattle head off our time out, the kids got to earn it. Hell, you gave them a scholarship, they playing, they done earned it. You got to coach it.
You know what's funny is when coaches try stuff like that, that's something you try in the preseason, before the season, right? Because you want kids to earn the whatever you have on the helmet, right? I've never seen a team 2 games into the season take
He did it in Cleveland and it didn't work.
There's no logo on the Cleveland helmet. What
so
are you talking about?
I'm gonna say
they took off the
something that's a little bit. I'm gonna say something a little tough, right?
Go ahead.
That's what happens when you hire a coordinator as a head coach.
Ooh.
Hugh is not a head coach. He's not a leader of men.
Ooh. I don't disagree with you. I've been saying it to whoever wants to listen, but people want to be in,
He
talk
was the
about,
head coach of the Raiders and the Browns for a minute. He just wasn't
and he's got
successful.
Exactly. That's the point.
yeah. Again.
That is the point.
That's the point.
He's
That's
not
the
a
point.
successful head coach guy.
Kelvin and I are on the same page. And look, Hugh talks a good game, and he's probably a good man and all that stuff. But in terms of performance on the field at the head, yeah, it hadn't been there. And I'm just interested to see it work at Grambling and how long.
Let me
But
say this though. Let
Go
me
ahead.
say this, okay? They are a very dangerous squad.
Who?
You saw that Jackson State game. You saw what they were capable of doing. They've got size up front. They've got size out wide, and they've got speed. The issue is whether or not these guys can literally dial in and remain motivated and find their lane of execution. Can you put together a scheme and a game plan that's going to be beneficial for the players and the personnel that you have right now? Can you do that? That is the question that obviously is before them. I'm kind of disappointed at Grambling just because I knew last year that they had potential. They had a decent squad last year, and then they added more talent to that squad this year. You would think that this squad would be better, but right now they're not showing it at all.
Last game we got to get to.
Hey, Brian, real quick.
Yes.
I think at this point in the season, especially when you're losing, you are who you are, and COVID is more optimistic for Grambling than I am. The only shot in the arm I see is they've been on the road 6 weeks in a row. So their first home game against us, we're gonna get their best shot. You better believe it. And they are dangerous for us.
Their schedule is
But
not
they've been
pretty.
on the road.
I mean, yeah, they've been on the road. Their schedule is not pretty whatsoever. I mean, they continue to play tough opponents, and obviously they're on the road again this upcoming Saturday. So it's no breaks for Grambling. It makes you wonder about the schedule. Like, did I miss a probation? Why is Grambling playing their first home game in the middle of October after like 5-6 games? Did I miss
They
something?
don't draw at home anyway. Their biggest draws are out on the roads or really at classics. It would make sense, though, schedule-wise, if they want to give themselves a legitimate opportunity to win games. It seemed like their scheduling person would have scheduled more home games to try to build up the confidence and stuff at home. But, this is what happens when you have that change in regime, which is a change in philosophy with both your AD, and then you get a head coach. And the schedule was done before Hugh Jackson got there. But nonetheless, I would challenge the Gramblingites, to start actually coming to the games. I'm looking at the fact that in Dallas, they drew 53,000 people.
Exactly.
53,000.
Yeah.
And neither Prairie View or Grambling draw well at home.
Draw well at home. Yes, that's a great point.
Neither one of them.
And so when we
You
talk
know,
about,
in case, just looking at the whole Southern game, they're playing Southern this week at home. If that game doesn't sell out, I'm like, Prairie View people, like, you all are, what is going on?
yeah, it makes you wonder what these schools aren't doing, and what's the disconnect? Why can't they connect with their community? I'm just asking a rhetorical question. I mean, this isn't anything we have to get into a deep discussion about, but it's more of a, where's the disconnect? And you have beautiful stadiums, you have historic stadiums. I mean, that hole in Grambling, I think that's what it's called, is a historic site. Why don't they draw more? I mean, is it, it's like some of those things, and that's what you hear. One of the things Coach Sanders is always talking about right now is about how changing how you do business, right? And so these two schools primarily need to look at how they're doing business and why can't they draw people, because it's a shame that Grambling is spending half the season. You can't build your program when you start the season on the road, and then if you go 0-5, who wants to come see you after 0-5?
Hey, just my 2 cent classic-itis, right? You've taken your marquee games and made them classics traditionally over the last 30 years. So you got generations of folks who have been programmed to only go to classes and not come on your campus and support the team. That was a business model that they chose at the time and they maintained. So when Dion talk about traditions and questioning it, then we got to look at some of those programs like that. Have to look at some of those things and make some more business minded decisions.
Very quickly here, hopefully hopefully Mama Body's not watching. Texas Southern loses 16-13 to Alabama State. They were leading going into the fourth quarter. I know, Kelvin, I know what you're saying. You're saying I can't trust them. Well, the week I get behind them, then they go give up 10 points in the fourth quarter, don't score anything, and then they lose by 3. I know that's exactly what you're saying, Kelvin. And this is a game where Alabama State committed 12 penalties for 111 yards, but they still outgained Texas Southern 329 to 220. You only 220 yards.
Yeah,
Alabama State's defense that good?
I'm going to say this. Their defense was pretty decent last year. Their offensive line is a dominant group.
Yeah.
They are capable of maintaining control of the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
The thing that they were missing last year was consistency at the QB position. And they didn't have it in key spots, and consequently, they couldn't get those third down conversions, and that kept their defense out on the field entirely too long in key moments. They're slowly coming into their own, especially with this new coaching regime and staff, and the thing is, Alex Jackson, who was our offense coordinator and offensive line coach, is up there.
Yeah.
So, my concern is that he knows Willie Simmons' scheme, backwards and forwards, and will probably have a whole bunch of insight in terms of how their defense is going to play against us going forward. So that's going to be an interesting matchup later on down the road, and potentially a very tough matchup. Just seeing seeing where we are and how we're mentally prepared to play. But that's going to be a big game.
I totally forgot we played Bama State. When is that? That game is smothered
the week
in
before
between.
The Classic.
Oh, Jesus.
We've got
okay.
The last four games on our schedule are huge. Okay, so you have homecoming, which is going to be a big game. Then you got Southern the following week. That's a rivalry game. Then you got Alabama State on the road. That's a rivalry game. Then you got Cookman.
Trap game. That's the trap game. Bama State
Ain't no
is the trap game.
All of those are big games. If you don't recognize it as a big game, something's wrong with you.
Great point. All right, hey, let's take a break because we're ready to talk to Brad Gillens and break down this South Carolina State matchup this upcoming weekend. So let's do that on the other side of this break. You're watching the O&G Strike Zone. We'll be back in just a moment.
Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique to spice up your closet with trendy, unique looks. We have fashionable and chic looks at very affordable prices. Velvet Boutique offers free shipping all year long on all orders. Shop online at www.melvetboutique.com. That's www.melvetboutique.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Shop Velvet Online Women's Boutique.
Whether it's advice on managing your anxiety or tools to help you stay grounded, Coping-19 provides a range of resources and self-care tips to help you cope with this pandemic. We can help. Find the resources that work best for you at coping-19.org.
Bounty versus the old family dish towel. Drying with a fresh sheet of Bounty leaves your hands cleaner than a used dish towel that can carry and redistribute food residue. So ditch the dish towel for better hand hygiene. Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
One bite of 100% Angus beef ballpark frank, and you'll say, hello, summer. Oh yeah, it's ballpark season.
All right, welcome back to the OMG Strike Zone. Brian, Kelvin, and Kofi. It's a pleasure to be joined by the Director of Communications and Digital Strategy, Mr. Joshua Padilla. Josh, I didn't know you had an office, my man, because I see you always on the move. I didn't know you had, look, you got a background. Look, I didn't know you had all that, Josh. How you doing this evening?
Doing well. Yeah, this is the home office. Really, this is actually where my girlfriend shoots her YouTube videos. So she just shot one and had left the lights up, so I hopped in and decided to use her lights. But if you're looking for me, I'm in Gaither 204C.
There it is, Gaither 204C. All right, that's where you can always find Mr. Padilla. Josh, hey, thanks for taking time, man. I know it is a very, I mean, look, you just stay busy because there is no, there's no lack of stuff going on. First, for people who aren't familiar, let people know kind of what you don't have to give the whole the definition in the book, but if someone says, well, hey, what do you do? Josh, kind of give us the abridged version of what you do.
Okay, so oversee the communications department, and our main things, is to one, promote FAMU Athletics, all of our sports, and we're in charge of the stats, the website, social media, photos, videos, pretty much everything you see that comes from either FAMUathletics.com or social media comes out of our department.
And so from talking to other whether it be director of communications or what we used to call in the old days SIDs and things of that nature. I mean, it's a lot of guys who love sports and love numbers. What was your, growing up? Give us a little background on you and how you came to love doing this, because I feel like doing what you do does require a certain type of love of sports, communication, and numbers.
Right. So for me, I was I started off when I was an undergrad at FIU, basketball manager on the team and for the basketball team. And I worked my way to full-time on staff. So I was assistant director of basketball operations. And one of the things we lacked was social media graphics for recruits. So I kind of just started watching YouTube videos, learned it, picked up on it, started making graphics, and then we'd have recruits come in, take some photos for them on official and unofficial visits. Got a job at Middle Tennessee doing social media and making graphics, kind of learned more about photos and such. And while I was there, one of the people I worked with knew Courtney very well and introduced him to me once they had the opening, and they kind of asked me to help them out with a lot of the LeBron stuff. So I was like, yeah, it might be fun. So I kind of helped out, and kind of led to me meeting Courtney and Keith and MJ, and they brought me on because they liked a lot of things I did at Middle Tennessee since they used to work there and they still followed them. So really, all this traditional sports information stuff I've kind of learned on the fly since I've been here, which has been a lot of fun though. But my favorite part really is the student athletes and interacting with them and just all the people the most.
Calvin, go ahead.
So, Josh, I think we've got 14 active sports right now,
Correct.
as a program, and I think you probably got 8 of them going right now. I know you was doing some with softball
Yeah,
earlier.
we were at
So
yeah softball fall game.
so talk about your team. I know, and your resources, and that includes your any co- uh contract those consultants that you got that do bits and pieces. But just kind of talk about your team and what they do.
Right. So right now we have one full-time assistant, and he's primarily secondary football, and then he'll work with baseball and during baseball season, and helps with women's basketball, and a lot of doing a lot of the website stuff. Updating the schedules, rosters, and such, and writing some of the recaps. And then I have she doesn't come into the office, but OPS. She helps out with a lot of the volleyball, doing volleyball game tweets and doing volleyball recaps, and so she's actually she used to be an associate director at Western Illinois, and she kind of got out of it, but still wants to.
Uh-oh. I
Did
think
we
he
lose him in the
froze.
home studio? I think we might have lost him there in the home studio there.
He'll come back.
Yeah, he'll come back here in just a second. So as soon as we get him to come back, well, I will say this. Oh, hey, there you go, Josh.
There you
All
go.
right, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
Got sniped, y'all.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
So, yeah, so overall total between like OPS, there's and my full-time assistant, there's 4. Some of them are student video, and then recently just started, more students have been joining and being more involved. A lot of student athletes, a couple of track and field student athletes are helping out, doing stats for football and writing stories and recaps and previews and such. So mainly student volunteers with a couple OPS and one full time, but definitely as far as resources compared to where I was, it's definitely much less. And then compared to some of the other SWAC schools, I would say it's probably less than a little bit, not by a lot, but just a little bit. And it's still also more than some of the other SWAC schools too.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. You definitely got more than some folks who really don't have a social media presence whatsoever. So that's awesome. Go ahead, Kofi.
I like the fact that you know that, but nobody would be able to tell that by the level of productivity that's coming out of your department. So definitely kudos to you. What I want to ask, of course, is when it comes to resources, are you all able to get like grants that would help to offset some of that, or does it or are the funds restricted to come from only one source?
That honestly, I do not know. I kind of just go with what I have, and we just get grinding. And
Right.
if they tell me this is the budget, then I kind of go with it,
Gotcha.
and work with what we have.
Right. I just I've seen, I know genius when I see it. And obviously you have an eye for excellence, and you have an eye of and a creative ability that is creating a level of synergy across the campus that we have not seen. You've literally taken it to another level. So the reason why I asked about the grant is I've seen it in other departments or I've seen other parts of different schools have to go outside the box to get what they need, or to take it to the next level. Um, Obviously, I would like to see that happen at Florida University. But I feel like what you're bringing to the table is definitely valuable, And, you know, I'm sure that even from an educational standpoint, the foundation could maybe find a way to help and assist with that, especially when it comes to investing in our students and our students' athletes and their educational experience and what that would lend to the whole thing. So be encouraged, my brother, man. I'm excited about having you on the show.
I appreciate it. But no, I would say, I definitely can't take full or well, I'll take some credit, but definitely a lot of the students, we have some talented students that come out and they want to take photos and they want to take videos. I just kind of tell them what to do and kind of give them a little bit of direction, but I definitely would not be able to do what I do without the, students at Florida A&M.
Hubbard, thank
Yeah,
you.
I want to go back. I want to stay on that for a second because I'm one of those old school athletic interns. Like, Dexter Martin gave me an opportunity, and I met Alvin Hollins, and
Me too.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, that's where we got our love for FAMU athletics. And you mentioned you have some OPS, you have volunteers who are coming in. I mean, you got a good mix coming in. I'm sure you got students from journalism department, other departments. Are you actively trying to get more? Do you still need more? Talk a little bit about that process of gathering those students. Are they coming to you? Are you having to put out feelers? Because I know, like you said, the you can't do anything about your budget, but it's like you have plenty of inventory and you've got opportunities for a lot of people to get experience.
Right. So we during the summer we did we posted the interns on the athletics, and a lot of students applied, and Kaya over with Rick and Ria as well. They kind of oversee the whole interns and as far as assigning them. So they typically will apply for that, or they'll come straight to me, or they'll talk to other student workers that work with me, and then ask them about how they can get involved. I did reach out to someone from the J school when I first got here, and she told me that we were only allowed to have 2 interns, like from their school at a time during the year. So, and as far as like going through them directly, so there's a couple of SBI students that came by as well last year that helped out.
That's interesting.
Well, yeah.
What?
Yeah, it is. Go ahead, Kofi. Go ahead. You go ask what I'm probably gonna ask.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
that's interesting and puzzling. Just simply because there's a need there. So,
well, I think she was saying no more than 2 people can work at the same place. I don't know why.
It depends on the program. I think, yeah, it depends whether I'm not sure if it's because of work study or actual partnership that they have. But I think that depending on the program determines that number. But you can have as many volunteers as you want. Josh, how you enjoying it, man? How you enjoying FAMU and environment, man? We're a little different. We understand.
Yeah, no,
but
honestly,
how's it going?
like the atmosphere is unlike any school I've worked at, or it's definitely nothing like or FIU is nothing like it is here as far as the fan base and just like the environment at games, which I love. Our football games are always just something to be a part of. Wish I didn't have to work them all the time and could truly go and just enjoy it sometimes. But football, and the student athletes, they're all just amazing. Like that's definitely my favorite part of the job is working with the student athletes, and I would say FAMU fan base is definitely bigger and much better than anyone that I've worked at in an institution or even my own school.
Okay, good.
Kofi, you want to get in there, add anything with Josh before we get ready to get out of this segment with him?
Yeah, just lastly, because I told him I was going to be good tonight, so I just wanted to keep my word and everything and keep that above board. But listen, man, so let's talk about your vision, man, for what you would like to see. What is your wish list for your department and how you want to see it grow?
Now, the ideal, like, kind of setup of the department would be, you have an associate director, associate AD, and from there, who runs the whole department or oversees the whole thing. And then from there, you might have an associate director of like communications who oversees a lot of the traditional sports information stuff, the stories, the websites, um, all the stats, the record books and everything. And then you have the director of digital who oversees all the photos, videos, social media stuff. Um, and then another ideal would be a whole kind of separate department, but kind of works with communications is kind of director of broadcasting, where they control all the broadcasts in house. So you could do all those ESPN pluses. Like if Jeff Walker could be on staff, running every single thing, then like that's would just be amazing.
Yes, sir.
Which
Yeah.
at the bigger schools they do have things like that. So like that's definitely like kind of what an ideal, perfect situation would look like.
Thank you for that,
That's
man. We'll be praying that through. I believe that hopefully with this next AD, you'll be able to get everything you need and then some because you deserve it. And thank you for your service, the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Are you
Josh,
going to be at the game Saturday?
Yes, I'll be there.
I think I'm going to be on off script show for like 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to try to swing by before going in. So I'll be at the tailgate.
Let's go. Love you, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
Josh, let people know how they can reach you. Look, obviously FAMU Athletics on Twitter, but if you got any other social media tags, or give the plugs, any plugs you want to give out, Josh, I'll turn this time over to you.
So I'm not that active on social media, but they can follow me on Twitter. It's West Side Diddy. And then Stacy, what's the YouTube channel? She said no, so I was going to tell people to subscribe to the YouTube, but she said no.
Oh, that's
shut
okay,
it down.
right,
Shut it down.
So.
I got jokes.
You
All
got
right,
a nice studio, sis. We like your studio.
They said they
Beautiful
like your studio.
Beautiful studio with the LeBron shoe right there. I mean, that's next level. Hey, Josh, real quick, is there anything coming down the pipeline that Rattler Nation can be expecting from your department? Like any new features or anything new that might be upcoming? Anything that you want to plug, or is it like top secret?
Not that I can think of at the moment right now. I think we're all just kind of waiting for something to happen. So, yeah.
All right, I got you.
Gotcha.
All right, good enough. Good enough. Hey, Josh, we appreciate your time. Thank you, my man, and
Yeah, of course.
we'll see you.
Thank you, Josh.
We'll see you either in the press box or on the sidelines or wherever we see you at. Thank you again, Josh, for coming on.
All right, sounds good. Thank you all for having me.
All right.
Thank you, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joshua Padilla. Make sure you are tuned in, following at FAMU Athletics. All of our athletic teams have great Instagram and Twitter feeds, so you need to make sure you just put them all on and make a big list and follow them all. All right. While we had Josh on, let's get ready to go into our South Carolina State coverage with Brad Gillens. Brad, let's see. He should still be there. I know he's working behind the scenes, trying to get things going. He's a busy man. Brad, thanks for taking some time. How you doing this evening, man?
Hey, doing fantastic, Doc. How are you?
Man, blessed. Good to have you on. You were just talking about a second ago. You got all kinds of family plans you got working on. You still gonna find time to be able to catch this big matchup on Saturday?
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I'm Headed out of the country tomorrow, celebrating my brother who shares a birthday with myself for his 50th birthday. So myself and my siblings and their spouses and family and friends are all going to head down to the Bahamas for a few days and try to get some rest and relaxation. But I don't know how much rest and relaxation I'm going to get on Saturday because I'll be glued to the TV, cheering on my Bulldogs, hopefully to victory.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because first off, where is this game being broadcast at on television? Because that part I have not seen published. You may have some insider information on that.
I can certainly reach out to the to Kendrick Lewis, who's a good friend of mine, dear friend of mine, and a media relations director at South Carolina State. As I understand it, it's supposed to be televised on ESPN Plus. I'll have to double check that just to be sure. Don't
Okay.
quote me on that, but give me an opportunity to check back on that, and I can certainly let you guys know, and you can let your constituents and all of your viewers know exactly where they can catch the Rattlers in action this weekend as well. Or if in fact the game is not televised, then I mean we're a very hospitable bunch. Anytime you guys come to Orangeburg, you're just like family. I know Kofi understands that with 90% of his family being from Columbia, South Carolina. I still don't understand how he got to Tallahassee in the first place, but that's neither here nor there. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if you guys can't catch it on TV, always make the trek up, I-10 to 95 to I-26 to the Garden City of Orangeburg. We'd love to have you.
I've been there for one of those games. I think I don't know. I can't remember whether we won or lost though. I think we might have been one of the few times that we went up there and got a win. But anyway, Calvin, go ahead, jump in there.
Brad, talk about your season thus far. I know you've had some FBS games,
Yeah.
you know, and you just got off the snide with a victory. Kind of talk about where your team, the journey from where they
hmm
started, what the expectations were to where they are now, and then your expectations come Saturday.
Sure. So, it's essentially kind of been the same. It almost feels like deja vu, Kelvin all over again. Last year we were 1-3 headed into this game down in Tallahassee and had played a couple of FBS teams and kind of took our lumps. Kind of had a win there against Bethune-Cookman in the interim, which is ironically the only win that we've had this year thus far, coming off of a 50-10 loss to South Carolina. Um, and then the team was also in Florida for the first game of the season against the University of Central Florida, where they saw defeat there as well. North Carolina A&T, that was a really good game up in Greensboro. Coach Sam Washington and Buddy Pugh have been longtime friends. Um, but for whatever reason, he had been able to best Coach Broadway and Bill Hayes and some of the other elder statesmen at North Carolina A&T and their coaching history. But for whatever reason, he just hasn't. Sam Washington has just kind of had his number, and so we find ourselves at 1-3 right now with the Rattlers, who are red hot. After losing, to Jackson State in the Orange Blossom Classic, have been able to, reel off, several wins since then. Um, so, we're going to definitely have our work cut out for us. South Carolina State is still South Carolina State. We play a brand of football where it's defense first. We certainly want to control the line of scrimmage. We want to make your quarterback uncomfortable. We want to make sure that we establish our dominance up front and control what you guys are able to do on the ground game, and then kind of make Jeremy Musa, who's been doing extremely well this year, one dimensional, where we can kind of pin our ears back and do what we do best.
Go ahead, Kofi.
Yep, man. I'm I'm really excited to see this game on Saturday. I know the South Carolina State obviously will be ready. Buddy Pugh's teams are always ready to play Florida A&M University. And, just the physicality. How would you rate your quarterback play going into this game?
So I'm glad you asked that, Kofi. I would look to see a mix of both Corey Fields and Tyrese Nick. Nick is really Fields has really kind of struggled early on this year. He hasn't really been able to find a rhythm early in games. Hasn't really been doing that well. Has thrown hasn't has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. But Tyrese Nick, who was out with a injury all of last year, has been able to come in and provide a change of pace and a spark for the Bulldogs. In fact, last week he engineered two scoring drives in South Carolina State's 50 to 10 loss to South Carolina. So, according to the press conference that was had just this week, Coach Pugh indicated that we would probably see a mix of both Fields and Nick. It's just a matter of how they determine how they want to incorporate both of those guys into the offense to make sure that the offense is not too predictable, and that when Nick is in, you guys understand that it's just a run play, or it's going to be run heavy, and when Fields is in, it's going to be more of a passing down. So offensive coordinator Bennett Swigert definitely has his hands full this week. Um, we know all about the dark cloud defense. Saw it firsthand last year. Isaiah Land was. I think Isaiah Land was. I think we were solely responsible for Isaiah Land kind of winning the Buck Buchanan
Yes.
Award last year. He had 5 sacks
Yes,
against South
yes.
Carolina State
Yeah,
last
he
year.
did go off.
Um,
He we learned
and
who Isaiah Land was after that game. Yes, that was.
absolutely, absolutely, and it's interesting that you say that because we've often been on the other side of contests like that. I remember back maybe 5 or 6 years ago when South Carolina State played Bethune-Cookman in Orangeburg, and Javon Hargrave had 6 sacks against Bethune-Cookman, and that game really kind of put him on the map. And as a result of that, he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers just several months later. So it definitely can happen, and especially with two programs um, with the historical relevance athletically as these two schools. We know coming into these games, um, all of the pleasantries are going to be said at the beginning of the week. I saw all of the great things, all of the beautiful things. Coach Simmons had to say about Coach Pugh earlier on in the
And
week
he
about
met
him
him.
putting all these players, all these things about him putting these players in the
And he met him,
throes.
man.
And
We
listen,
love Coach Pugh.
Kelvin, cut it out.
Flying
Come on,
seasons. Flying
you
season.
can't. Listen, you're not gonna soften and butter us up. I've been around the block way too long, so I knew exactly what that meant from the beginning. And you better believe that Coach Simmons will
He learned it
definitely
from
be
Buddy
trying to
Pugh.
channel his. He will be.
He he
Willie
he learned
Simmons
that
will be
from Buddy
trying to
Pugh.
channel
Buddy
his.
Pugh is the
He
master
will.
of laying the butter on. Come on
Listen,
now.
listen. Willie Simmons will be trying to channel his inner Billy Joe this Saturday and try to bust our brand new scoreboard that we just got literally 2 months ago that we're debuting on Saturday wide open. I can absolutely believe that. So I look for a hard fought game where the defenses are really going to dictate what happens. And then, we'll see where the chips fall from there.
I wanna confirm just kind of what Brad was saying about where that game is going to be on. It is going to be on ESPN Plus. I just happen to be on the Watch ESPN site looking at the schedule and replays. It will be on ESPN Plus. And the only reason I asked is because I didn't see it on the press information that I had previously got. So that's good to know that it will be on ESPN Plus at 2 o'clock Eastern time. And then you said Tyrese Nick. Look, is this 2019? Because I feel like Corey Field and
Yes.
Tyrese Nick they've been
Yes.
around for what 4 5 years
So 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 so
Forever, ever.
okay, I
forever
tell you
ever.
what, I'll see you. I'll say okay. So I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better, Dr. Brian.
Uh-oh.
I'll see you Tyrese Nick, and I can tell you that I feel like Xavier Smith and Roosevelt Kaiser came to college in the
I knew
same
you were gonna
year.
say that.
Yeah,
I knew you were gonna say
I saw that one coming.
that. Yeah. It's like, when are these guys gonna leave? When are these guys gonna graduate and
Exactly.
go
But
on
you
with
know
their
what?
life? We
Hey,
love you,
Brad.
but man,
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes,
hey,
sir.
Brad. So why are y'all playing your first home game so late, man? And how do you think that impacted, your record thus far?
Well, I think it's just one of those things where, you know, because we had two FBS games, you know, those games aren't going to be played at Oliver C. Dawson Stadium just because you quite frankly get paid to go to their barn and compete, and then whatever happens from there happens. Um, North Carolina A&T, we just happen to have an away game with this year, and with them transitioning from the Big South to the CAA, it's we don't have the same level of flexibility that we might have had in previous years when they were either conference participants or the like. And then Bethune Cookman now is not a conference game, and so we have to take all of those things into consideration. So I think this year is just kind of an anomaly of sorts. I will say this: I would love to see, from a non-conference perspective, North Carolina A&T, Bethune-Cookman, and Florida A&M remain on our schedule for years to come, because it's a game that's a fan favorite for all of our fans, and your fans as well. It's always a really good draw, whether it's home or away, regardless as to where we're playing. And it makes for really, really great competition. I mean, these schools have enjoyed some really strong rivalries. I mean, for if we're talking Bethune and Fam, we're talking from the 1970s to present, with some hiatuses here and there when your family decided they wanted to do some other things, and then came on back home and decided to leave for greener pastures again, and then North Carolina A&T moving on to the Big South, and then now eventually the CAA, with South Carolina State kind of being one of the last mainstays of the original Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference. But with all of that being said, I definitely think next year, we could be talking something completely different. I mean, I know Coach Pugh likes to have at least one FBS game on the schedule because he likes to, kind of test his team against the best of the best. Number one, I mean, you've got some coaches out there who are against it and don't necessarily see the value of it. But we certainly do. I mean, because of those, FCS versus FBS games, we've been able to put a Shaquille Leonard in the NFL. We've been able to put a Darius Jacoby Durant in the NFL because they've showed up. We've been able to put a Joe Thomas in the NFL because of the way that he played against a Clemson, in those games. So, while they may not prove valuable on the scoreboard, they certainly prove valuable with accounts receivable at the at the end of the day, and certainly for those kids to be able to test their mettle against some of those other guys, especially if they're in-state schools that they've probably played high school ball with, or have gone to camps with, and all of those good things. And so, it gives them an opportunity to show that, you know, uh, you know, one break here or one break there, and they could have been right where those other guys who are matriculating and prospering at those schools that certainly could have been. And I'm sure you guys can attest to that. Certainly with having Jennings now, who's your running back from Pittsburgh, who's now your starting running back at FAMU, and quite frankly, being able to keep Isaiah Land, because as I understand it, he was in the transfer portal, and Coach Simmons was able to kind of talk him back into coming back, and him understanding that, hey, listen, it doesn't matter where you play ball, as long as you're good, you can go to the pros from anywhere, and I think that's the most important thing.
All right. Kofi, you got anything you want to wrap it up with, Brad, before we get out of this and head to a break?
Well, I just wanted to let him know my history with from Columbia, South Carolina, and how I got and matriculated down to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. So my parents
Producer, can
taught
we get
at
some hold
Benedict.
music or something, please?
Kofi,
Hey, yeah,
make
go
this
and
the
get
short
my
abridged
cue
version,
music going.
please.
Keep my music up. All right. But seriously, my parents worked at Benedict, and then they got the job at FAM, and that's how I got to FAMU.
Okay.
And
Very
that's
good.
how that worked. Yeah.
Understood.
But yeah,
Understood.
so my dad
Understood.
grew up in Rain, South
Understood.
Carolina, and he taught at Voorhees as well. Can y'all see
Yes.
me? Am I? All right.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah.
got you. We
So
got you.
okay. So that's that. But I'm excited, man. What do you think? Let me ask this. What do you think about the prospects of Benedict and Albany State joining the MEAC?
I
Did he get
hadn't
sniped right there?
really given it much thought.
Oh, there you go.
Dr. Artis,
No, you stumped him.
Dr. Roslin. Oh, can you guys have me?
No, we
I got
got
you.
Yeah,
you. We
yeah,
No.
we
got you.
got
We
you.
got you.
Are you there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
we can hear
there
you.
we go.
We can hear you.
All right, so Dr. Artis is doing a fantastic job. Dr. Artis is doing a fantastic job at Benedict, and the athletic director's really done a good of growing that program. The same for a good friend, a colleague, the athletic director at Allen University. He's doing a fantastic job there as well. Um, I would love um, for eventually with Benedict and Albany State to join the MEAC, but I think it'd be kind of time the financial burden that kind of comes along with going from Division 2 to Division 1, mainly in the name of scholarships. You're going from 36 to 63, and that's a huge undertaking. And so for those schools, as long as they can, as long as their athletic coffers allow them to do so, as long as they can um, you know, bring some level of relevance and credibility to the conference, then I'm all for it. I remember back in 95, 96 when Hampton and Norfolk State joined the MEAC from the CIAA. They were ready because those guys came in and they immediately kind of made things happen. And so you know um, as a matter of fact, I think Joe Taylor was at Hampton at that point, and I think they won the conference the first year or something to that
Mm-hmm.
effect. So it's not
Yeah.
to say that it can't happen. It's not to say that it can't happen. It's just a matter of, if it will happen, and if it does, I'm definitely ready to receive them with open arms because the more people that we can continue to bring to the Mid Eastern Athletic Conference, all it does is strengthen the viability of the conference going forward.
Okay, Brad. Before we let you go, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask for. Well, I'm not even gonna ask for your prediction because I can't fathom you saying South Carolina State is not gonna win. But rather, I'm gonna ask you, how is South Carolina State going to win
And
this
okay, so
contest?
yeah, in order for South Carolina State to win, they'll have to have a ball controlled offense where Flowers is able to really kind of establish himself in the run game early, have a nice mix of run and pass with Bailey, who is Corey Fields' number. He's not Corey Fields' number one receiver. Shaq Davis is, and I think everybody knows who Shaq Davis is and what he brings to the table. I think the relationship between Fields and Bailey is underrated. What most folks don't know is that those guys actually went to high school together and played quarterback and receiver at Baptist Hill High School together. So they've developed a rapport that they've had for several years now. I don't know if you guys remember, but Bailey was one of the receivers that actually caught a touchdown in the Celebration Bowl against Jackson State. As a matter of fact, I think it was the only touchdown that Shaq didn't catch that game. Um, but I certainly expect that if the Bulldogs can maintain time of possession, kind of keep Musa off the field, keep that high-powered Rattler offense off the field, then they should be in good shape.
All right, Brad, we appreciate your time this evening. Appreciate you working with our shuffle schedule a little bit, and
Sure.
safe travels to you, your family. Happy
Yeah. Happy
birthday to your
Happy
birthday.
brother.
birthday, boy. Happy
Thank you.
birthday.
Thank
And
you. Thank you very
And
much.
we
Turn
hope
up is
everything
real.
goes. Yeah, I mean, except for that 2 to 5 o'clock window on Saturday, we hope the rest of your weekend is lovely, man. You know what I'm saying? So we mean that
Hey,
from here. Mean that from here.
listen, hey, listen, guys. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy, being able to come on and talk shop with you guys. This has really been rewarding for me. And I'm looking forward to if you'll have me, because I'm covering Bethune-Cookman this year as well. Maybe doing something for the Florida Classic.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure. We'll book it. It's done. You're in. We'll do
Let's
that. We'll
go.
do that. Let's make sure we do it. It's on. All right. Safe travels again, Brad Gillens. Brad, give them the social media plugs real quick before you jump out of there, before the producer moves off of you real quick.
For anybody that wants to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Czar Telestrator. That's C as in Charlie, Z as in Zebra, A as in Alpha, R as in Romeo, T as in Tango, E as in Echo, L as in Lima, E as in Echo, S as in Sierra, T as in Tango, R as in Romeo, A as in Alpha, T as in Tango, O as in Oscar, and R as in Romeo. So if you guys are basketball fans, you will remember that when the NBA on NBC used to come on, Marv Albert and Mike Fratello used to always do the broadcast. And so Marv Albert would always come on and say, "I'm Marvelous Marv Albert," and next to me I have the czar of the telestrator, Mike Fratello. And so that's where I took my name
Yes.
from.
Yes. There we go.
Let's
Very
And
good.
go.
it
I
counts.
love it. And it counts. Good job.
And it
All
counts.
right, Brad. Hey, man, appreciate you, man. You have a good evening. Safe travels to you and your family. All right.
Pleasure to you guys. Take care. Go Bulldogs. Fight,
Go
strike,
All
Rattlers.
strike,
right.
strike again. Strike, strike, strike
Yeah,
again.
yeah. Yeah. Big, big.
And he
As the
got
show
rattlers. He
title
got rattlers in
says,
his family.
a bark that is bigger than its bite. That's all right though. We'll see. We'll see. Hey, just a little historical fact for folks out there who did not know. This is Buddy Pugh's 21st season at the helm. This is the 60th meeting between FAMU and South Carolina State. There are only 3 schools that have had that we FAMU have played longer. We've had a longer series than. Obviously, one is Bethune-Cookman. We played them 75 times. The other 2, North Carolina A&T 65 times and Southern 61 times. So when we talk about deep rivalries, this is our Mount Rushmore. South Carolina State is one of our top 4 rivals. And we do own let me make sure I get it right here. I think it's like a 31-26-2 overall record. So I just had to throw that in there as well. FAMU leads that series.
Of
So,
course.
all right, Brad, just want to
Of
leave you
course.
on that as you head out. So, all right, Brad, appreciate you, man.
You guys take care, man. Much love.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Hey, we're gonna stay live here because we're gonna quick shuffle
All right.
because one of our guests is our head men's golf coach, Coach Mike Rice, and he look, everybody's got a busy night. Coach Rice, Brad's got a busy night. Coach Rice has been in like 3 different meetings. It's like chaotic right now. So let's see if we can get Coach Rice in. Let's see if he had a chance to break away from his meetings and chat with us. Um, and then we'll be coming up a little bit later.
There
There
you
he
go.
is, back again in
I made
orange.
it back.
What's up,
There he
coach?
is, Coach Mike
That's
Rice.
my
He's
golf
back.
coach.
That's my golf coach. Amen. Hey, yes, indeed. Hey, happy Founders Week to you, Rattler. Hey, Coach, welcome back. Good to have you
Thank
back
you.
again. We for sure we call you an OG as a friend of the show. Hey, so let's jump right into it, Coach. The $1 million question people want to know, and I mean you can tell us as much as you want to. How did it play out? Because when we last talked to you, we were like sending flowers and wishing you saying goodbye and good, tears were being shed. I mean, we were like, yeah, my coach is leaving, and now we got you on and you're back. So what happened between then and now?
Um,
As much as you can tell, or
yeah, no.
want to share, I should say.
Uh, you know, it just it wasn't for me. Prairie View wasn't for me. I'm a rattler. This is home. I love FAMU. Got out there. Prairie View is a great institution, but it just wasn't for me. Tallahassee is home, FAMU is home. My family was here, and you know the program that's been built here. I just felt like those guys needed me back. You know, Mia Campbell, my assistant, did a great job while I was gone. Obviously, everybody saw the what we did at the Silver Cup and represented well, and she did a great job with the guys. But at the end of the day, this is home, and I just couldn't see myself putting that purple on any longer. It hurt. I'm an orange and green guy, so it's just good to be back.
So from the standpoint of the logistics of this thing, I mean, and feel free to give credit to whomever helped make this possible. You obviously there had to be some conversations, some phone calls. How does all that play out for you? Because like I said again, um, you were all packed and ready to go. But how did the conversations, or maybe where did it start? How did when the possibility of coming back was
Mhm.
there? How did that play out?
So, got to give credit to Michael Smith. That's where the conversation started. We had conversation for a while because it's not a process that just happens overnight. But him and I were in conversations for a while, just trying to work it out. Obviously, being sensitive to Prairie View, and again, good people out there. Dr. Reed was good to me. Alicia Pete, who was my sport administrator, they were all understanding when I, gave them the news that it was time to come back home. But Michael Smith was the guy that I was in conversations with that we finally got it done, which is great. It's just good to be back. But you know, again, good people out there. But this is home. This is where I believe I'm supposed to be, and trying to carry this program into the future. And I think we're in a good place. So um, I just came in, hit the road running.
Right, right. Kelvin, go ahead, jump in there.
So um, I got to ask the audience question, then I move on to what I really want to ask. Uh, so there's been a transition at your now former school. Uh, in that situation, uh, did that have any? Did you see it coming? Did that have any impact on the decision for you also?
Not at all. The decision I made, was to reach out and just say, look, um, is there a possibility to come back? Because quite frankly, I just, again, just thought, after I got out there, it was just like, this just not me, a great opportunity for somebody. And the person that they named head coach, Misha, I know her very well. She coached at North Carolina Central and recently at Lincoln. Um, Quite frankly, I recommended her because I thought, she'd be a great hire out there. Great personality. Played at a high level. Is a very good player. I think she'll do a great job at Prairie View, but had nothing to do with my decision. My decision was to come home and be the head coach here at FAMU. And quite frankly, I didn't feel like my job was done here. We've done some great stuff, but this program is at a high level, and the goal is to keep that level going up. And we won a MEAC, which is great, but we don't have a SWAC title yet. And that's our goal at the end of the year.
So now the question I really want to ask, Coach, is uh, how was it talking to your team? I look back at the roster and I see you only got two seniors and you got a bunch of freshmen and sophomores there. And you recruited these guys and worked with them all this time. So how was their response? And then talk about your most recent tournament.
So, the hardest conversation was letting them know that, I was leaving. I think that obviously shocked and surprised a lot of people when I made that transition to Prairie View. Um, you know, I I've been welcomed back with open arms. I can say that the guys are happy to have me back. To continue again what we started. We got a pretty good freshman class that came in. Being able to be around them and get them guided in the right direction. Bringing the team together and all that good stuff. Again, they're happy to have me back. I'm happy to be back. It was kind of cool to get back on a Thursday, hit the road on a Saturday, and bring a trophy home on a Tuesday. So just pick up where you ended. So this is a team. I told you guys last time we talked. It's probably the most talent we've ever had on this campus for a golf team. We still are young, but as they're starting to show, even with that youth, that we can win tournaments. And we do have two seniors, but one of them still has a year of eligibility. So we're actually only losing one player. Just went to an event where we had, three sophomore, a redshirt senior, and a freshman in the lineup, and pulled away with a win. And, just recently came back from Georgia State where we represented well. Didn't finish well the last day, but a little bigger event with some pretty good high ranked schools in there, and to be able to get at one point we were in sixth place out of 16 people, so we showed that we can make that move up the leaderboard, but we just got to finish a little better. But we're so deep, we're still trying to figure out who those five guys are going to be at the end of the year, and we've only played two events, so it's gonna be, I wouldn't call it a roller coaster because I think we're going to play really well. It's just trying to figure out who those five will be at the end.
Go ahead, Kofi.
Yeah, so tell us about, just in terms of with the golf season, do we host home matches? And when we do, where do we host those home matches?
That's a good question, Coffee. We don't. So golf's a little different. I would say this: the plan is to get back to hosting, and we used to host one event a year, and that's usually what universities do. They'll host one event, and we've hosted out at St. James Bay, which is out on the coast, and it's a golf course that takes good care of us. And the reason I hosted out there was it's set up perfect for a tournament. I say that, and they got villas out there. We could really do it up nice and bring these universities in and show them a good time. So they have villas, and then it's right there on the coast. We feed them good. We show them a good time. It's been very successful. COVID messed us up, and so still trying to get past that. When we get past the COVID, I definitely want to do a tournament because it's a great experience. You get the home course advantage, and then you just get to kind of show off Tallahassee, and even being out at Carabel, same thing. You're showing off but we got to get back to that. But COVID killed us. We had one, I guess 3 years ago. It was very successful. Brought in 10 schools, showed them a good time. Very next year we actually had so many we didn't have room to room them. We were trying to find rooms for them, and then COVID hit. So hoping to get back to that. Because again, it is a huge advantage.
So are we going to be doing a camp anytime soon?
That would be great. So that's a good question. One of the things, and the only reason we don't do camps now is we really don't have the facility. But one of the things, as Rozier knows, we got a facility that we're still developing here on campus, where we have a practice area, but right now isn't set up to bring kids on campus. And I say that only because we don't have the netting, and we'll end up with a kid in the hospital probably. But
Okay.
but the plan is to eventually, and it's been approved to have it now. When that gets finished, that's a good question. But the good thing is it's been approved.
So let me ask this real quick, because Gaither Golf Course is down the street, and I don't know about golf courses. Is that a viable option or no? And if it's not, why?
And
or
I know
Capital
Gaither.
City. Okay.
Capital City already does camp, so that wouldn't work there. The issue with FAMU is just the space to do it. They don't have the space to really do the camp. I used to be the pro there. I was there pro for 8 years before I came to FAM, and we used to try to do junior camps. The problem is you just don't have the space out there to do it. The community center is separate from the golf course, which really hurts, but just not enough room.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Hey, Coach, you've been gracious with your time this evening. What's the schedule ahead? Let us know. You just mentioned you guys got out of a tournament earlier in the week. What's up ahead for you guys?
So couple things. So we got a young man, it's a freshman, Ian Davis, who's been invited to a big event down south that I'll be heading to. Leaving Saturday, getting back Tuesday, I believe. That'll be aired on ESPN. And the name of it is the Stevens Cup. And what it is, a lot of Power Five schools are invited, men and women, but they invite, I believe it's 4 HBCU players, and then they invite a few from the military schools to play as well. So going down there, that'd be something to definitely watch out to see this young man play because he's got a lot of talent. And then from there, we're going to North Carolina, where we've been invited to the SAS event, which is done by the PGA Tour. We'll be leaving for that next Thursday. So it's a busy October, but we're going to keep these young men working and continue to develop them into the players that we know they could be.
Nice. Hey, I got a small request for you. Next time you bump into Josh Padilla,
Mm-hmm.
there's a little feature which I noticed that we have on our website, the athletic website, where we have the players say their name, and it's like right
Mm-hmm.
next to the name, and we can have them say their name. You have
Mm-hmm.
some names on your team. I'm not even gonna try, like Jacob, Ayush. I look. I don't want to. I'm tired of butchering their last name, Coach. So the next time you see Josh, you say, "Hey, Josh, can we get our guys with the little feature where they say their name so we can get that phonetic, and so that we can say their name properly?" Because I feel horrible every time I'm trying to read our stories, and I'm like, yeah, a use B, and I'm just like, I know his mama and daddy out there listening, like, come on now, what? So
Well, it's
small
funny you say
request.
that because it's Ayush Badali,
See,
and
see,
and and the pro this week was announcing his name on the first team, and he said, "Look, I don't want to butcher it, so just tell me what it is." I said, honestly, I just call him Yush now, so we just don't even go there.
see,
Uh,
But
but
use.
no, we could definitely make that happen.
Yeah,
That's one of the great our team. If you look at it, we're so diverse, and again, I know I've talked about that on here. We'll continue to look like that, but I'm excited for the year. I'm excited to see what these guys do because, again, being young, we got some guys that are dynamic to watch. Even at the tournament this weekend, we got spectators out there watching, and they're like, "Coach, what are you feeding these kids? Because they are hitting the ball so far, which is fun to watch. But we gotta learn. We gotta learn how to play a little golf at times too, and not just see how far we can hit it, but let's try to get it in the hole. So I'm excited to see the development of these guys and just see where they go because we got some dynamic kids that could be really, really good.
nice, nice. Coach, next time we have you on, Kelvin, remind me of this, or you bring it up. We're going to talk about the strategy of team golf and how you shuffle these guys into your teams, A's, B's,
Mm-hmm.
because you got all this talent. I'm curious to hear. I know we don't have time tonight, but I want to know next time how you juggle that, how you what goes into the week for these guys, so that we can talk a little more about the strategy of team golf. All right. So that's what we're gonna do
Absolutely.
next time. Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
All
Appreciate
right.
y'all.
Appreciate you, Coach. Man, have a good night.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your time
Thank you,
Thank you,
this
you
Coach.
too.
Welcome
and
back, Coach.
Thanks.
welcome back. Yes, sir. All right. Again, that's Coach Mike Rice. Hey, all right. So, fellas, we are in the overtime. We got to move quick because I know we got to make sure we get out of here in a good time.
FAMU
Uh,
31-21.
Stop, Kofi. Hold on. See, I love Kofi. Just jump the script.
Prairie
Don't
View
jump the
over
script.
Southern.
Don't jump the script. Come on now. Anyway, All right, so here we go. We're just gonna So let's first set the table of this week. I think this is the best week, the best schedule
Yeah,
of the year. This week
yeah,
number 6.
yeah.
Everybody's playing. There's
Agreed.
interesting matchups all over. So let's go through the storylines again. Of course, uh, no scores just yet. No scores and predictions yet. FAMU, of course, we're at 2 o'clock. That game is on ESPN Plus, as we just found out. It's South Carolina State's first home game. Interesting matchup at Alabama A&M. Grambling, still no G on the helmet. Winless in SWAC. Going to Alabama A&M. That's a 2 p.m. Eastern on HBCU Go. Kelvin's favorite team, Texas Southern, traveling to UAPB. That is a 3 p.m. game. How does UAPB respond after getting destroyed by Southern last week? Will Skylar Perry be there? Will he not? That might determine how that game goes. Of course, the matchup in Alabama at Alabama State in Montgomery. Jackson State rolls in. Your favorite homecoming opponent. Coach Prime, Kobe, how do you like this quote? All money ain't good money. That's the quote of the year by Coach
It's
Prime.
Prime, bro. He better win that game because I promise you, he thought that curl was bad the last time. If Bama State finds a way to win that game,
Ooh, I look. There are some teams,
I'll
and
be
we'll talk
afraid
about
to
that
look
in
at
a
the
second.
scoreboard, buddy.
That
Hey,
that is a
boy.
juicy.
Hey,
That is a
crack that door
juicy
open for them
game.
Rattlers. Crack that door open for them Rattlers.
I'm telling you, look, hey, that Jackson State coming off of a
Look,
bye week.
Jackson State should win this game, right? They should win. They're a better team.
They coming off a
But
bye too.
Yes.
they're coming off a bye. They've got the all-day analyst and everybody else, and but Bama State has the tools to make this a game and possibly win it. And it just comes down to this, and it comes down to this. Can those guys
Part in the
make
head.
plays on the ground? Can they establish a run game? And if they can, they're going to have a chance.
And not putting that ball on the turf. I know that's going to have something to do with it as well. That game is on ESPNU, 3 p.m. Eastern. Southern at Prairie View, 5 p.m. ESPN Plus. Coach Dooley returns to
Yes,
PV.
sir. That's my
Prairie View
game
is in
now.
first place. Southern, we don't know which Southern is. We don't know if we're going to get the Southern that beats people by 60 or we're going to get the
Prairie
Southern
View
that gets
going
shut
to wear
out.
their tail out. Prairie View.
We'll see. We'll see. Bethune-Cookman at Tennessee State. That's 5 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Plus. You know, Tennessee State is winless, especially coming off of a Division II loss to Lane College.
Look,
Pine Bluff beat Lane College. First game of the season. It was barely, but
but
they beat them.
TSU had 4 of their major starters out. Lane has been a problem for a minute. So I'm not boosting up Lane, but we all know that some of these Division II schools are actually pretty good, a.k.a. Albany State, a.k.a. Virginia Union.
Yes. And it cannot happen. Inexcusable.
They were out without their QB, bro.
Yes, it cannot happen. Inexcusable.
I love the way Kelvin leans in. Got to get that one off. I got to lean in to tell you that's not going to happen. Alcorn State at Mississippi Valley, 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Alcorn coming off of a bye. They are second place in the West.
Down in the valley with a
Yeah, okay. All right, here we go. Picks contest.
What's that girl
Picks
name that
contest
took a
time.
picture in front of the cast building? What's her name?
I don't
the devil.
know. I don't know. Oh, wow. Okay, here's the really. All right, everybody, here we go. It's picks contest time. Here we go. We got 5 games. We're gonna pick them. You guys join in if you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook. Here we go. Grambling. Let's see. Let me start with number 1. Number 1. I'll get to the best games last. Bethune at Tennessee State. Bethune is 1-3, 1-1 overall. Winless Tennessee State. Actually, call me crazy here. Tennessee State, according to Massey, is a 7.5-point favorite. Yeah, Tennessee State, a favorite. Who you got in this one, Kelvin?
That's about right. TSU.
You think so?
It reminds me of the Alabama A&M game, frankly, last week with Bethune-Cookman. It's a toss-em game uh, because because TSU is at home and they lost to Lane. I'm going with TSU by 3.
All right, who do you got, Kof?
Uh, I believe this is a Cookman special right here because they get up for stuff like this. But I'm gonna go with Tennessee State to get off the winless schneid and save their homecoming. If they lose this, then I don't know if Eddie George is gonna make it out. He'd have to win the conference.
It's just year 2. I mean, are we really writing him? We're
This is
really writing
Tennessee
his
State
exit,
University, and they
and
lost to Lane. It's a big deal.
I'm
It's
just
gonna
like,
They ain't
cause
wow,
trending in the
Negroes to
right
be pissed.
direction,
you gonna
especially
move
after
a guy
last
out?
year when they got some wins. I mean, he ain't gonna get fired this year, but I'm just saying, all Kobe's saying is see Lou on.
Yeah, okay. We still don't know. I'm assuming Bethune stayed out on the road. They didn't come back to Daytona Beach. Do we know? Have you guys heard anything? Because it would seem
I
to
haven't
me
heard
that if
anything.
they, yeah, so
If the
that's the
campus is
Campus is
one
shut
part.
closed.
down, they somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the one part about this that makes this kind of interesting is like where Bethune is. I like Bethune to cover the 7.5. I almost want to pick them outright. I'm just gonna have to wait to game time and find a little more information out on where Bethune has been in the last 4 or 5 days. That for me is going to tip it over. And those Tennessee State starters that you mentioned, are they back? All right, game number 2, Grambling at Alabama A&M. Alabama A&M is favored by 6.5 points according to Massey. Who you like in this one, Kelvin?
Grambling is dangerous in this situation, but right now they ain't got no G on their helmet, so they looking
No
like
G.
Darth Vader. So I'm going with Luke Skywalker in Alabama A&M.
Go ahead, Cove. Who you got?
A&M
Use the force,
is
Kofi. Use the force.
A&M by
A&M. Yeah,
7.
I'm gonna ride with you on this one. I can't. I don't know. A&M has looked good the
Them
last couple
boys, look,
weeks.
them boys was out there singing their alma mater like, oh, Grambling, oh, Grambling, we love you, dear. Oh, they were singing it with just minimal intensity. Like they
No
didn't want to be
intensity.
there. They
I
just
mean, losing
sounded a
will do that
mess.
to you. Who does want to sing the alma mater after after you lose? I mean, it's the tone is a little bit softer after a loss. Okay, Texas Southern, Kelvin's favorite team at UAPB. Texas Southern is a road favorite by about 6.5. What you got,
I
Kelvin?
agree.
You riding with your boys, or you jumping off the bandwagon?
No, Mama gonna be happy. Mama gonna be happy. It's a good day, Mama. I'm not gonna jump back and forth. I'm gonna stick with them for another week. Pine Bluff hadn't really beat nobody of significance. They beat the Christian School, American Jesus Christ University, and and Lane,
United
and they
States.
only beat Lane by 5. Then they pretty much got whipped everybody else. They banged up. Now if the quarterback come back, I think the game will be competitive. But I'm relying on Mommy Body. I need your boy to show out. I'm going with Texas
This
Southern.
might be okay. Who you got, Kofi?
Texas Southern.
Yeah, I got Texas Southern too. I think this was my, let me see, 1 and 2. Yeah, this, remember when I said I remember I had Texas Southern at like 3-1 at the beginning of the year. This was one of the wins, and so far I need them to even this out for me a little bit. All right, Southern 2-2, 1-1 at Prairie View 3-2, 3-0. Prairie View is a 3.5 point favorite according to
I agree.
Massey. You agree? So who you got, Kofi?
I
Sounds
agree.
like
The only thing that's keeping Southern University really, really in this game is the fact that I know Dooley knows the personnel at at Prairie View. And so he's going to game plan accordingly with that. That being said, the game wasn't close last year with Prairie View and Southern. It wasn't close at all.
Who won it last
Prairie
year? I didn't
View
even look that up.
Prairie View beat the snot out of them on their own homecoming. It was not good on the Bluff.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I don't see Prairie View allowing Dooley to come back home unscathed. If Southern pulls this out, then Southern is definitely legit.
Will there be who will have more fans in the stands, Southern or Prairie
Southern
View?
University.
We just
Southern.
I was gonna say we just talked about Prairie View not bringing people to the stands.
It's sad.
That's
It's
interesting.
Prairie View fans, if y'all watching, if y'all let the Jags come in y'all stadium, Jaguar Nation come in y'all stadium and take over, y'all need to be
Jags defense.
I think look, that's very likely to happen.
defense,
Kelvin,
Jags
who you got? Who you got?
Defense, Jags.
Hey, I got Prairie View. I just trust them. They've been solid the whole season. Southern is, I don't know what they are, so I like Prairie View.
The one other time in college football that a team where a coach played a team on the road, or he was on the road traveling to the team that he knew that he won. That coach won because he knew the personnel. They won. So, with that said, I'm gonna have to slide with Southern. I think you just said it. He knows the personnel. He's gonna have the crowd. I think he's gonna have the home. I think he's gonna have the crowd advantage. I think Southern will travel. It'll probably be 50-50 in that stadium. In terms of Southern Prairie View fans, I don't know.
He
I
ain't
think if Prairie
playing.
View put
Players
like this,
playing.
if
Fans
Prairie
ain't
View wins
playing.
this game,
The players playing.
okay, but who knows? The coach knows the players that he's about to go up against. I'm just saying. I think this is a big get. Prairie View wins this, they're off and running all the way to the
Well, they
SWAC
still got
championship game if
Alcorn.
they win this.
They still got
Yes, they do,
Alcorn.
but it's a big
And
step in
whoever
the
they
right
play in
direction.
the East. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we got Jackson State unbeaten, 4-0, 2-0 in conference. Bama State 3-2,
Jackson
1-1.
State.
Jackson is a 14.5-point favorite. Here's another. The over/under is 44.5. I'm about to give you a money take it to the bank special in a second. Who you got, Kofi?
I'm gonna say Jackson State by 10. I can see them Jackson State covering that whole 14. But I'm expecting Bama State to put up a strong fight and make Jackson State have to play.
All right.
They're not
We
gonna
got
lay
Kelvin.
down.
Dion been making a big deal about being homecoming. Been talking a lot of trash. Every game they played, he done left Shadur into the fourth quarter when the game was out of hand. He better be careful. Alabama State is a physical team, offense and defensive side, and they ain't scared, right? They ain't gonna be scared of them. Now
Look,
Jackson State is a better team. They're gonna have a large fans base there, and they may be able to pull away like they did. But I'm thinking it's gonna be more of a Tennessee State kind of dogfight for them on this game. I'd be shocked if Alabama State just let them come in and just run all over them, especially early. So we'll see. But ultimately, Jackson State's a better team, so I'm going with Jackson State because Alabama State don't have enough offense. If you can't put up points, you can't beat Jackson State.
I agree. Kofi, were you going to add something? You going to add one more caveat in there?
No, I was going to say that Bama State has traditionally been one of those teams that gives Jackson State fits in Montgomery, especially when Jackson State is undefeated. Now, this is a strong Jackson State team, but Bama State has the artillery once again to do this. And college kids have the tendency to play super inspired ball. And it's real good to be able to talk that noise until somebody busts you in the mouth. And Bama State has the ability to bust Jackson State in the mouth. It's going to be interesting to see how long or how consistent Bama State can be. The difference last year was QB play, and Bama State has a much better QB this year than they did last year. Last year, that game was good for a good half, and Jackson State pulled away late. This year it's on the road, and Bama State referees are the absolute worst in the history of SWAC refereeing. I'm trying to tell you, they make up stuff.
No,
So
they ain't worse than you can't convince me they worse than Southern.
no, I can. Look, they blocked the Southern blocked an entire kick. The ball went into the end zone, recovered by the Southern guy. They found a way to give Bama State the ball back. I was just like, how? How in the world does that happen? SWAC refereeing is different. I'm sorry.
So I really think that, look, how much okay, go with me here on this. If we know Jackson State is going to take away the one thing that Bama State does really well, which is run the ball, that's what Jackson State is going to take away. That's going to force Bama State to go to what? Passing the ball. I like the potential of D. Davis in his future. I don't trust it against you mean to tell me a guy who's thrown less than 60%, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, he's only thrown the ball 67 times on the year. You mean to tell me that guy is going to outdo that secondary? No, 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 no. I'm telling you, that total is 44.
Bama State's only hope is to be able to run the ball.
Their only hope is if what happens in the Tennessee State game where Jackson State makes 3 turnovers in the red zone, that's their only chance. If Jackson State gets loose with the ball and keeps them in that game, then you're telling me something. But otherwise, man, look, go to the bank. Look, folks, here's the cash play of the weekend. If you see that number at 14 and a half, and God forbid it gets lower, run. Go to the ATM. Put everything you got on Jackson State and then put it on the over. If you see 44, 45, play the over. Jackson State going to put 45, 50 by themselves. And yes, Bama State will get a couple of touchdowns, but I'm telling you, run to the bank. Build you a new deck for the winter season, because get rich on Jackson State while you can before people figure out what's going on. All right, let's go to our main matchup, FAMU South Carolina State. Let's go score and bold prediction. I mean, we all know FAM's going to win, but by how many, and what's the bold prediction? Kofi, I heard you give a score first, so I'll start with you.
FAMU 31, South Carolina State 17.
Okay. Any bold predictions?
And no bold predictions. FAMU knows how to play South Carolina State. They know what they're going to have to do. Buddy Pugh is not necessarily doing anything different. They know this offensive team. They know the screens that they like to run. They know the physicality that South Carolina State is going to have to bring, or loves to bring, on both sides of the ball. They know what they're up against. Now it just literally comes down to execution. I'm looking for FAMU to continue, or Willie Simmons to have this team playing at a high level on Saturday. If that happens, nice. I believe we'll probably run the table.
Nice. Kelvin, score, prediction, what you got?
This game concerns me a little bit. I know we'll get some guys back in our run game. So I'm going to predict collectively, because we do it by committee, that we rush for over 200 yards collectively this game. Okay. That's my bold prediction. And I'm looking at a score of 35-21. I think it'll be tight early, and I believe that it's gonna come down to turnovers. Which team moves turnover better, that's who's gonna win the game.
One interesting note, when I went back and looked at the last 6 games between us and South Carolina State, only one of those games have been within a touchdown. And I'm saying for either side. It's like it's either been a blowout for one team, either side. And only one game, and that was the 2019 game, which technically should have been a blowout had we not got too comfortable and lax in the fourth quarter.
Block punts, two block punts,
Yes,
two a
exactly.
pick six.
That should have.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that should have been a blowout. So with that said, I'm going. I'm going FAMU. I'm going to go 28-10. I'm going 28-10 FAMU in this one. And my bold prediction.
If that
I'm
scores like that,
going.
we gonna run the table.
Well, hey, look. I mean, I think
It's their
this is
first home game now. They're gonna have they're gonna have a rabid crowd. They're gonna come out blazing. I think they're gonna have a little success early running the ball.
if they may catch us with a 7-0 lead, might even catch us 10-0. But I think when things settle, I think Isaiah Land will come up with about 3 sacks, maybe 3 to 4. I think the defense gets at least 2 interceptions and probably a fumble recovery. That's my bold prediction. 3.5, 3 to 4 sacks by Land, a couple of interceptions by the defense, and a fumble recovery. That's my bold prediction for the defense. So again, that's a 2 p.m. game. It's funny, I will be up in that area, but actually I'll be calling a broadcast for Benedict and Miles, but I'll be in Columbia, not far from Orangeburg. That game starts at the same time, so I will hopefully catch up everything. I'll be kind of calling the game and watching the other game on the side. But where will you guys be this weekend?
Orangeburg.
You're going to the game, Kofi.
TBD, to be determined.
Okay, to be determined. All right. So I don't know. Depending upon schedules, Kofi, are you staying up overnight or are you driving back?
That's too long for me to be driving back like that. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I got family. I'm good.
Post game. Oh, okay, I'm gonna just throw this out there. I'm gonna be staying overnight. So post game.
If we lose, don't look for me. I ain't coming out there. I'm gonna be in a very foul, nasty mood.
Kelvin, I was talking about doing post game show. Kofi's like, nah, don't look for me. I won't be around. All right. Well, we'll see. Maybe we have a post game. Yeah, good point. So I'll be looking for you, Kelvin. We'll see. That's gonna do it for tonight's show. Thanks again to Joshua Padilla, Brad Gillens, and of course, Coach Mike Rice for joining us on tonight's show. You guys make sure to go follow them on their social media pages. Thank them for watching the show. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ONG Strike Zone. Go download the Jericho Broadcast Networks app, please, on the Google and Apple App Store. Just search my JBN or my BCSN. And then, of course, go find the stream on the podcast network. That's the BCSN Pod Zone is where you can find the podcast version. Everywhere you listen and download podcasts, that's Spotify, Google, iHeart, all the usual places. So, for our producer, Mel, on the location producing the show. Thank you, Mel, for everything you're doing tonight. And for my brothers, Kelvin and Kofi, Rattler Nation, travel to Orangeburg, be safe, and make sure when you get up there, let them Bulldogs know that you're going to strike, and strike again. Good night, everybody. Peace out.